Hi!
Hi! Welcome to this episode of our new podcast for Anglia Ruskin University. My name is Jamie Lee and I'm a social media officer at Anglia Ruskin University.
My name's Hannah and I'm also a social media officer at Anglia Ruskin University.
So today we thought we would talk with Mental Health Awareness Week coming up about social media and the impacts on people's mental health, and maybe give some tips as well to try and lessen the negative impact on everybody's mental well-being.
Yeah, and then also talk about how it could have a positive effect on us as well. I think definitely during the pandemic we saw the positive effects of it because it brought people together, people was keeping connected. There was a boom in TikTok where people were just sharing fun, happy content, and yeah, there's definitely some positives to it.
Yeah, on that note as well, you need to follow Anglia Ruskin's TikTok
follow
account
us
because
on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn.
It's pretty
YouTube.
special. We're definitely enjoying that. So maybe today we'll start with just talking about some pros and cons maybe of social media in terms of mental well-being, and then we'll end up with some tips.
Yeah, definitely. And we both work really closely with student services and the wellbeing team so that we can promote the services and the tools that's open to students here, like counselling, if they're struggling with wellbeing. So we do try to promote that through social media.
Yeah, I think that's really important to talk about as well because we were just ranked number 1 in the UK.
Yeah.
By Times Higher
#
Education.
Are you proud?
Yeah, for health and wellbeing. So that is fantastic news. So
number 1 in the UK and top 20 in the whole world. So
that is pretty special. So I feel like there's some great stuff going on at Anglia Ruskin.
Yeah, definitely. So should we start off then with some of the things that we think are really positive about social media?
Yeah, I mean, for me, during the lockdown, obviously working from home and stuff as well, I joined some stuff through social media, like groups of people that just want to travel and meet up, and it makes travel a lot easier, obviously, now that the restrictions are lifted.
Yeah, more accessible.
Going away more in the UK, meeting new people. So the group I joined was called the Travel Squad, but loads of them are popping up now, especially through things like TikTok. People are sharing their experiences.
What platform is that through?
So that was initially through TikTok, but there's also a Facebook group, and then you can meet with lots of people. And after the restrictions lifted, we all went together, a group of about 20 strangers, and we climbed Ben Nevis. So that was awesome after being at home for ages. Yeah. So there's a really positive side to that because I feel like you can feel quite isolated online sometimes. But the flip side of that is you can also connect with and meet people that want the same things.
It's quite an unusual phenomenon, really, because you can be so connected to millions of people all across the world, but at the same time you can feel isolated when you're on your own. So it's a bit of a weird, I
think the tools are all there. It's just depends how you use it and how you're feeling at the time as well, definitely. Because there's also that element, if we talk about the negatives, of like fear of missing out when a lot of people are presenting their best lives. You know, like it's different because I could have looked at the travel group content and thought, I'm so upset that I'm not doing that. Or you can use it as an inspiration and think, oh, I want to do that as well. Like I want to achieve that. But that's not always possible if you're looking at maybe models that have had like a lot of surgery, or, you know, they're going
and they've been paid to go to Dubai.
Yeah. So their lifestyle isn't maybe achievable by you. Maybe they're editing their pictures. So that's the flip side. You know, maybe they do inspire you, but it's also quite upsetting if you can't achieve that.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that, especially in the UK, but I think it's across the whole world, more and more younger people, especially under the age of 24, are now being diagnosed with anxiety. And I think it's a lot to do with that pressure to constantly be connected to people, like on your phone all the time, and also the comparison, because that was the saying that comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah,
I think that's so true. But like you said, you don't know what people are like the reasons behind posting things. Is that a real image what you're looking at? And I think that's definitely something that's hard to understand when perhaps you're younger.
Yeah, I think I definitely see that with my little brother. He does like to imitate. He's only 11, but he likes to imitate like TikTok creators. I think it frustrates him because he's got a private account, obviously. As a young person, like, his parents make him have the private account. But I think it frustrates him that he's not reaching the millions of people.
Yeah.
You know, he sees that fame, he wants that. So he, like, copies their dances and stuff. I think it is really hard for him to realise that these are people with filters. You know, they're living in these big, like, creator houses together.
Yeah.
And it all looks great, but I don't think he's seeing the other side.
No.
Or, like, their life before maybe that happened. I think it is hard when it's all you see as kids, especially during lockdown where they had a lot of social media and not a lot of time with their friends. It's hard for them to remember what it's...
Yeah, I think as well, because I think it was just before lockdown, I think TikTok had a little bit of a bad press about how they were promoting the perfect image, so videos that were going viral at the time.
Yeah, the algorithm was pushing the really airbrushed versions.
And really nice clean houses. And then people might be sitting there in their messy bedroom and thinking, oh, well, my content's not going to be good enough compared to that person.
Yeah, I think they've made some really good steps though, I think, haven't they? In terms of the content you see now is more kind of filtered to you. And they've also got a really nice feature that I hate to admit that I've seen a few times where it mentions to you that you've been scrolling for a long time and it suggests that you actually leave the app, and I think that's really important. I think it'd be really good to see other platforms start doing the same thing, because, you know, like, an app telling you to get off the app is actually quite impressive.
Yeah. I think as well, like, one of the other positive things that does come from this is you're now seeing a lot of influencers and creators that are actually drawing attention to the fact that this isn't real life. I think, and now with like #ad becoming more well known, people do realise, oh, they're being paid to do that. They've probably set up a massive photo shoot. They might have hired out a private jet to look like they're flying first class somewhere, but they're not actually leaving the airport and they're not going anywhere. But I think there are a lot of people on social media that are saying, don't compare yourself to these people, it's not real. And I'm one of these people who are like, I am perpetuating it and saying, look, this isn't real, but this is now my job, because that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because there's a lot of creators popping up now as well, like plus size creators, and then obviously you had like the Black Lives Matter movement, which was really powerful. So I think social media is realising itself, and there's like some great movements that are coming out of it to make people feel more represented and seen. Like, my feeds are a lot different than a few years ago, and I don't know if that's because I work in social, I'm looking for a wider, you know, like, I unfollowed a lot of creators during lockdown, which I think is a really good tip. I know we said we do tips at the end, but they're probably just gonna slot themselves in. But I unfollowed a lot of creators that were more unrealistic, and I found a lot of creators that are more like me or have the same kind of goals. Like, I follow a lot of animals now as well. It's a lot better feed that I'm finding. Like, my suggestions from social media platforms are so much more positive.
Yeah, and more tailored to you and your interests.
Exactly, and I think maybe we should talk about the Be Real app, because I know that's coming up, and you downloaded it today.
Yeah, I downloaded it, posted my first one on my own private account.
So the Be Real app, well, you can probably explain it better than me.
Yeah, so you download it and you get sent a notification, and you have to post a photo when it sends you a notification, and you can't see anyone else's photos until you've posted your own. And it's instant, it's unfiltered. You can't upload something either, so you can't take a picture from like 2 years ago when you visited New York on top of the Empire State Building kind of thing. You have to take it right there, no filter. It takes a picture of what you're looking at, and then it takes the photo of you. And then you post it, and then you can see what other people are doing, and you can see the locations. So it's mostly people. The ones I saw this morning were just people hanging out with some friends. They were sitting on their sofa. You know, nothing like...
I think that is a really cool... It takes away that excitingness of posting, I don't know, maybe on Instagram when you're like out for your birthday or something really special's happening. It takes away from that, but I think that actually is quite a good thing when you think about it. I think it's a really cool idea.
I think that's actually I think it's originally why people liked Snapchat so much. Yeah. Because you took the picture, you couldn't use to upload. So you took it in the moment and it was there for 24 hours and you could use it as a bit of a back and forwards, this is my face, now this is my face. And that's how it started. I think that's why it originally grew really popular. But then they were trying to then keep up with the popularity of Instagram and TikTok. Yeah. And then they competed and I think it lost its USP in the end.
Yeah.
And that's what made it special.
Aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
We've noticed with the students, like for university, it is coming back a little bit, but it's also a bit of a scary app in the way that it's so hidden. Like, you know, a lot of bad things can go down on Snapchat. It is quite a worrying one when you can't see the content.
I do remember when I had to first explain the concept of it. But you take a picture, you send it, and it's there for 24 hours and then it disappears. But where does it go after? I'm like, well, it might be stored in the cloud somewhere, but no one can see it after that. And they're like, but I don't understand. Why do you want it to disappear? Like, that sounds a bit saucy.
Yeah, I think it's got a bit of a sneaky element as well, isn't it? When you personally message somebody on Snapchat and the picture disappears, like it's got that kind of
like that fear of someone screenshotting something.
Yeah, but I think that's good that it tells you that someone's screenshotting. Although, you know, people do record conversations on another phone or something like that, so there's ways around that. But yeah, it's quite an interesting one. I think it has that nice USP, but it does, in terms of like student stuff, it does still scare me. You know, private group chats can always take like a cyberbully kind of turn, and I think that's quite scary for your mental health as well. If you've got a message that only you can see, you know, there's no proof that it's come to you. You know, if it's a nasty message coming through, I think that can be quite like an anxious time.
Yeah, and I think that is another reason why people are so anxious now, is because you're at school. If you're having problems with people at school, it's sort of confined to that area at school, but then you come home and then you're on Instagram, and they can follow you there, and then they can spam your photos saying nasty things to you as well.
Yeah, it's so easy to make accounts, isn't it? Because you obviously have the block features. I think Instagram's got that really nice feature now where you can block somebody and you've got the option to block all accounts made by the same person.
Yeah.
So that's quite nice because it takes away, you know, them being able to make this second account and kind of reach you from there.
Yeah.
So that's quite a good advancement, like update from Instagram there.
I think that probably links into the next topic that we'll talk about then is, do you think that platforms themselves are doing enough to safeguard the user's mental well-being?
Yeah, this is such a big argument, isn't it, as well, online at the moment.
Are they doing enough, and should they even be responsible for the user's mental well-being? Because they've provided this tool and it's up to you if you want to use it. No one's saying that you have to, so...
Exactly. There's quite a good documentary, I think it was on Netflix, and it was all from people that kind of originally worked on Instagram as a platform before it was taken over by Facebook or Meta now. And they were sort of saying, you know, it was originally this app where, you know, you can share this really visually nice, it was such a nice community feel, and they feel as it's got bigger, you know, like there's some scary niche communities popping up, you know, especially with things like self-harm, like communities that were kind of quite big on Tumblr when Tumblr was more popular. I think it's hard to control. It's hard line between censorship, you know, how do you, on such a big platform, how can you, I know it's a lot by AI these days, but how can you really investigate these claims when someone's reporting something? There's so many reports a day.
Like, I know people who do work in the centres at, for example, Meta, Facebook, who have to then look at the material that's been flagged. For example, like, you know, violent images. They look at them and decide that they have to be removed. But I know they themselves can suffer from PTSD because they see so much of these things that are being flagged. So I suppose in that sense, they have to look after their staff well-being. So yeah, they do have to look after the user's mental health well-being. I saw there was a survey showed that 2/3 of UK adults believe that they do have a duty to protect users' mental health, and 53% thought that they weren't doing enough. So I think in more recent years, the platforms have realised that they do need to do more, because we know that Instagram have introduced a function for bullying where you can actually report the comments. Yeah. And then it says, are you having a problem with this person? Because I know before it was only like you could flag it if it was spam. But there's more ways you can flag the comments now.
That's really interesting as well. It's hard, isn't it? Especially on platforms like Instagram where things are so subjective as well. I think when it's written, when it's on social media, like it might be hard for them to get the context as well. If it's like a personal dispute, if it's like a snarky comment.
Yeah, that's true.
That could be, or sarcasm, especially in the UK. Sarcasm quite big online, so it can be really hard to read a comment in the right way as well.
I think as well, some like TikTok introduced that wellbeing hub, and then Snapchat, I think, collaborated with the mental wellbeing app Headspace.
Yeah.
So they did a big push on that last year. I mean, I think in a way Facebook has a long way to go, but
yeah,
I think there's probably a fine line between users and the platforms, because if you're seeing something and it's making you feel bad, I suppose it's got to be there's a point where you think, well, I don't want to look at this anymore, so I need to shut it down.
I think that's the argument for algorithms though, isn't it, as well? Because on one hand, it's great because everything you see is so tailored to you. But on the flip side, if you're having a bad week and you're resonating or looking at content that maybe kind of reflects your mood, the algorithm gets more and more driven towards the down content, and that's how these kind of communities
that's really
that are talking about self-harm, or maybe, when you get a group of people that are all feeling quite low, there's not a lot of positivity that can be raised up if you're ignoring the positive content and they're giving you. I think that's quite hard. That's quite a rabbit hole to fall down, especially
because
if you're vulnerable.
the content's there and the content is available to you. It's just whether you seek it out and whether you're looking up the right search terms and whether it comes up or not.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of positive content as well from people like Mind Charity. It's great that they have social presence. That we did a TikTok live session, didn't we?
Yeah.
For Results Day last year. So we joined them, one of our students and also a volunteer from Mind Charity themselves. We co-hosted a live session just to support students around Results Day.
Yeah, how to cope with like that anxiety of, will I get in? Have I done enough?
Yeah, so I think that's things like that are really good tools if you come across them. So I think another tip would be, to follow places like that for support should you ever need them. It's nice to follow people that have positive messaging so that they do drip more into your feed, especially if you have that lower week and you happen to catch a post from them. They also share some really nice advice for like supporting your friends as well. So I think it's definitely worth following more positive accounts.
Yeah, definitely.
Just so that you can see them now and then. You might not like everything they post, but that's a really good tip to unfollow people that might not make you feel so good. Somebody drilling.
There's someone drilling. Hopefully it stops.
That was brief. That was brief.
That was something, that reminds me actually of, so for my own personal Instagram account, I was originally started Instagram just to show what I was doing to my friends. So I only followed my friends and only my friends followed me. And then I started getting into like Instagramming properly and set up a blog, and I then started getting brands contacting me, and then I had a contractual obligation to post. So for one thing, I'd have to post twice a month, and then when it becomes that business and you're getting more people, like hundreds, they turn into thousands of people following you who you don't actually know. They're not your friends. They have some sort of expectation of what they want to see from your Instagram, and you have to keep on topping yourself every time. And then you've got the brands that are expecting you to post as well, like you have to. So then it actually becomes something that started out as something fun is now not so fun anymore because you have to do it. And I think that's where, when the pandemic came, I actually suffered with a lot of anxiety around it because I'm doing social media at work full time. I'm coming home. I'm then having to do the Instagram as well, and I'm roping my friends and family into it. So I'm like, oh, can you come and take pictures of me? And they're like, oh, okay. And this was every day because with Instagram, it works best if you post once a day, or if not more than once a day, to keep on top. And you're becoming friends with and becoming part of this network. And in a way, you're kind of like having a healthy competition with them because you're like, I started the same time as them, so I want to get the same amount of followers at the same time. I want to grow as they're growing. But then that just spiraled into something that was really healthy at the start, into something that was making me worried.
Yeah, I think social media never sleeps as well.
It doesn't, no.
Especially a lot of people studying and working remotely. Like you were, that's a lot of screen time. Definitely. Not a lot of, Professor Viren Swami as well from Anglia Ruskin does some great work around nature and nurture.
Professor in psychology.
Exactly, yeah. So he talks a lot about the psychological impact of like being in nature and how important it is. And he's got an event coming up actually as well for Mental Health Awareness Week, like a free online event. But looking at his research during lockdown, everybody increased their screen time pretty much. I know a lot of students as well, they delete apps and things around exam time.
Yeah, that's
so that they can focus. Yeah, so it's really hard, I think, like you were saying.
Like with the screen time, it's not even just your mental health, but also your physical health, because again, linking back to Anglia Ruskin research, but a couple of weeks ago there was that news that was released. Even children as young as 4 years old have increased their screen time during the pandemic by 2 hours a day, and that's giving them, I think it's called myopia. I'm sorry for the optometrist that I've pronounced it wrong, but so they're having problems with their eyes, and so when they grow up, they're going to have problems with their vision.
It's definitely going to have an impact.
Yeah,
so, it's got to.
But then I found that when the pandemic hit in the UK, it was around March.
Mm-hmm.
The brands that I was working with for my personal account were saying, our budget's gone because we're going into a lockdown. We don't know what's going to happen, like financially. Everyone we'll be working with, we're really scaling it back down. So it sort of stops. And then the obligation to post stopped. I wasn't leaving the house. There's nothing interesting to even put on Instagram. Like, I'm not leaving my sofa every day. Do you want to see that? So I thought, no, I don't want to do it. And when, like, as the weeks went on, I was like, I feel so much better not having to post it all the time. So I do think if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, I think it's a sign to just take a break from it.
Definitely.
And it doesn't matter, like, nothing's happened. Like, I lost some followers, but I mean, a few years ago I would have been devastated. But like, no, I've built them all up. I've lost 1,000 followers. But it doesn't matter, really. Like,
yeah, I think the pandemic was quite an eye-opener into what's
definitely
important. I know it's a particularly hard time for the students as well, especially that had just started university, to connect with each other, because that was really important, face-to-face. I think, we closed Facebook groups for students that were maybe isolating and wanted that support. We've got the peer mentor students who were great. They were taking shifts online to support the students through social media. And it was really important for us as well to support them through social media, have things going on there that they could interact with, because we couldn't give them necessarily that face-to-face time that they needed. It was difficult for everybody, but I think do have complete sympathy, for the students that were affected. It's an exciting time to start university.
And it's completely different to what anyone's experienced before. I mean, it's really unprecedented. So, but like, how do you cope with it? So both you and I, when we started, we were in an office every day working, and then suddenly we've got to come up with innovative ways to support the students now. We can't physically see them.
Yeah.
So
I think it was a total learning curve, but I think, you know, without social media as a tool, and, you know, obviously not technically social media, but Zoom calls or team calls, you know, that time with the lecturers and that time with their classmates, I think, you know, what a worrying time for everybody to be at home. So I think social media did connect them in that way. You know, we saw a dip in engagement and then a climb in engagement where students were looking for ways to interact with each other kind of outside. You know, the Facebook groups were quite lively, looking for other people, and kind of arranging for
weekly Twitter chats. Like,
we did.
Join us every Tuesday at 1 PM, and we're gonna chat about
check in.
Check in with you, see how you're doing. That was really good.
Yeah, and the student wellbeing campaign as well, where they designed their own campaign for wellbeing, and there was lots of online activities. You know, they had watch parties. They had ARU the Big Walk as well. So everybody was going for a walk at the same time. They started building, you know, Spotify playlists to share with each other. So
and some of our ambassadors were like live streaming as they were walking through like the fields, and like you said earlier, it was really important to get out in nature.
Exactly. So I think that was definitely a positive of social media. Another tip as well, you know, try and use it in the best way you can to connect with people. But I think there's also a line of where you need that face-to-face connection when and if you can. You know, especially at university level as well. That's such a big part of the experience. And like I said, it's a shame that some of the students didn't get that. I mean, you know, hopefully they're getting that more now. I think social media was that good tool that bridged.
It was
tried to bridge the gap.
And I mean, the lectures were all done through Zoom, which isn't technically social media, but that's a form of electronic communication, like digital communication that
it was contact.
We then relied on.
I think a lot of them had Teams chats as well. You know, we had the virtual open days, and they were also, you know, social media. We were presenting, you know, like 3D tours of campus. We had some student ambassadors live streaming tours of campus as well for people, because obviously they couldn't visit. So I think it does offer a solution for connection when you can't be there in person, especially for a lot of our international students who did have to go home. Or even isolate in the UK if they couldn't get home.
And they couldn't go home.
During the pandemic, social media was a real source of connection for them with friends and family. So I think that's... We should probably move on to tips, shouldn't we, actually?
Yeah. I just thought of one point, though, was yesterday I met some war veterans.
Yeah.
And one of them, I was filming for a video that was going to be shown at the 2022 graduations. And he said, I really want to give a message to them. So he was 41, and he said he'd suffered with PTSD and depression. And he just said, I really want to tell the students of this year that have gone through a pandemic that what they've done, they should be so proud of, because it's been so difficult. And that was coming from someone who'd been has seen things in the war, and he said it's so difficult when you're that young. He said, when I was that young, I felt like I was living for other people, and I was having to follow a career or follow a path, and be a certain way for other people. And he said, my message to the students of this year, and like who've been studying, that to just be yourself. He's like, that is my message. He said, I want to get it out to everyone. Just be yourself. And so I think that's a really nice message to give to people. Like we were talking about authenticity and social media, that it is really important to not live for other people and to just literally be yourself. So that was just really nice. And he had some really good insights, and I thought it was really good to speak to someone like him.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's also reflective of like the social media platforms, like we said. TikTok's got massive, and you know they're moving towards creators who are everyday creators. You know, like people just getting millions of views and likes and comments on videos of them and their friends, you know, on a night out in the local, sort of vibe. Or you know, people that work at Tesco ads at like people at their day jobs just doing a dance, and it's becoming viral. I think, you know, people are becoming more accustomed to seeing normal people on their social media, and it is making that move. And then you've got apps like Be Real. So I think there's a shift that's coming. And then you've obviously got Mental Health Awareness Week coming up as well, which is a big online campaign, the theme being loneliness. And, you know, there's so much content that we've got, you know, learning from lockdown, you know, online events for people that maybe aren't comfortable in person. We've got now in-person events. We have the Pets as Therapy Dogs. I think
that's like
it's
the best
coming
day of the
together.
week. Thursdays.
Yes, absolutely. If you're at Anglia Ruskin, you will know the Pets as Therapy Dogs are just the biggest names on campus. They are amazing. The NHS Society organises those visits, and the Student Union as well up in Cambridge organise those, and they are fantastic. Keep a lookout for when they're on campus. We should probably get around to some tips, actually.
Yeah, let's get around to the tips. So we'll just get them up on the notes.
I think while you're getting those up, I think my main tip would be, I'll repeat it one more time. Oh, there's that drill again.
It was going so well.
It was. It's just to, you know, like I said, unfollow people. If they're making you unhappy or you feel yourself comparing yourself to them, unfollow. You don't have to completely unfollow them. You know, if you're friends with somebody on Facebook and maybe
that's why the mute button was invented, wasn't it?
Exactly. You can mute them on social media. You can snooze them for, you know, a few weeks. Just if you're going through a rough period, say you're looking for a job or something, someone you know has just got the best job in the world and it's making you feel a bit, you know, you can always hide their post just for now. You can come back to it, you know, you don't have to fall out with anyone, you've not blocked, they can't see that you've hidden them. But I think those are really good tools. My second one would probably be...
You can always deactivate your account for a little while as well.
Yeah, you can pause your account. You can also use, you know, the privacy settings. And that's important to consider. Do you really want to be viewed by a public audience? Like, is it making you happy? Would you rather it's just your friends? Maybe have, you know, a public account and a private account, and then you can control what content is seen by who and, you know, which one to use depending on how you're feeling. I think a lot of people have a second account now where it's literally just, you know, friends and family maybe on one and what you would want to present to the public.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. So, we've got the tips.
Also, follow a lot of animal accounts, I feel like, for me personally.
Animal, yeah.
Big one.
My sister's really into Book Talk.
Book Talk! Yeah. That's a good one.
So, she has really gotten into reading. So, she checks, she's like, this one's now £4 in Asda. I'm going to go get this book because Book Talk told me to go get this one. It's like, it's all gone because it's gone viral now. Everyone's buying the books.
Find your niche, definitely, and you will see more of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's a good one. Okay, so I think we've probably discussed all of this already, but we're just going to like round them up into little snippets so that we can sort of round off this episode. So number one is to use an app to track how much time you spend on social media each day, and then you can set a goal to reduce that time. And I think even if you've got an iPhone or any sort of phone, you can set it to disturb, so there's no notifications that pop up.
Yeah. You can also turn your phone off as well at certain times of the day if you know, that's when you get particularly distracted. There's also apps that you can set, you know, especially useful for people with things like ADHD. I'm seeing a lot of apps that do things like you pick a certain time of the day or a certain activity that you do where you do get distracted, and it will notify you that at the certain time of the day and say, are you being productive? And you have some actions and tasks. So there are lots of apps out there if you do research into them.
That Pomodoro app, which is like the tomato.
Yeah, I thought that was pasta.
Yes, it do. It's Pomodoro. I don't know if it's a technique, but it's like 20-minute. It's a little alarm thing, but it sets it for 20 minutes. So you're like, I'm going to do this task for 20 minutes and then I'll have a rest. So this is a good one for revision as well.
Yeah, really good for studying.
But you could set that up and say, well, I'm going to spend 20 minutes on Instagram, and then when the alarm goes off, that's my Instagram done for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing, because you could also, maybe try leaving your phone at home as well once in a while. I know a lot of people do need it if they're going out to contact people, but say you're going out with your family. If I go out with my family now to a restaurant or something, my mum will have her phone. Yeah. And apart from that, we just don't take them. Yeah. Because otherwise, it's so tempting to check, especially after lockdown when your friends lived in your phone. It's so hard
because you're so contactable at all times. So you feel like, well, I have to have it in case someone needs to contact me. But, well, if it's not an emergency.
Do you know what? I've never had, I don't think ever, I've never got back to my phone, even after a week of being off of it, and had anything that was massively worth reading when I got back. Maybe it's just me not having the most interesting life, but there's never been really an urgent...
Well, if it's urgent, they're going to get in contact with you somehow, aren't they?
Exactly.
If it's that urgent.
There has never been really many messages or notifications that have been, need immediate action, apart from obviously at work, but that's different, isn't
it? So tip number 3 is don't take your phone or your tablet to bed.
That's a good one.
So the blue light is really bad. And if you do have something like, you can put the yellow light on as well if you are going to use it. Disable social media notifications. Yeah, that's really good. That's
the same as kind of like hiding other people as well. Like, so you're not tempted to keep looking. Because it does that really annoying thing, doesn't it? Some of the apps, they pull you back in by saying, oh, so-and-so, like your close friend has just posted, or so-and-so hasn't posted in a while and they've just posted this video. Yeah. Would you like to see it? It's, you need to disable those
you
ones.
Look at it just something really like banal, like, oh, I haven't done my laundry for a while.
Yeah, they're trying to pull you back in. It's sneaky. It's really sneaky.
Yeah. Limit checks. So if you compulsively check your phone every few minutes, then, like we said, we can set the limits.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, that's one that students do, isn't it? The last tip is one that a lot of our students do around exam time, is actually removing the apps completely from your phone for a while. And I think I did this actually during lockdown. So I got rid of Facebook and then I very occasionally checked it on Safari. It gave me that extra effort where I had to... I'm doing it at the moment actually with delivery apps, food delivery apps.
Yeah.
I've deleted them and then it's that extra effort to go into Safari or a browser.
And then load it again.
Get it, log into it. So it's that extra process that stops you just checking and flicking through. And then you can check the notifications like way less often. So I feel like getting rid of the apps is actually a really good one. That's really productive.
Right, I think, those are all the tips, I think.
Yeah,
is there any like final comments that we want to say?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe
follow us on social media.
Follow us. Yeah, exactly.
At Anglia Ruskin.
Yeah, we're always posting nice, positive content, and we absolutely love hearing from students, staff, everybody.
We've always got students sort of doing takeovers and showing actual, like, people who you see on social media. They are actual students, actual alumni. They are part of our community, so they're not just like models.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of them are. Yeah, potentially.
Models and students.
Yeah, models and model students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, so that's one thing I think is good about our social media. You see that behind the scenes, a real life.
Yeah, it's very real life to campus. Yeah, I think it's important that we keep showing that.
Yeah. And if you want to be featured, get in touch.
Let us know.
Thank you for joining us, and if you've got any comments about it, please get in touch with us. We want to hear some of your tips maybe as well.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, how do you feel about social media? And
have a lovely mental health awareness week, and I suppose we'll make another episode.
Yeah, so stay tuned.
Bye guys.
Thanks. Bye.